And I'm really so lucky that you know that when I turned 60 and I was painting and I wrote my first story, I never knew I could write. And it didn't happen overnight. When I started writing, I didn't really write correctly. And I had to do a lot of reviewing. I had all my grammar books up. I had to learn my spelling. I needed improvement. So many things, people. But I kept on learning. And so as I kept writing and writing, I kept learning. So all through my 60s and 70s. And I thought I was going to write 1 or 2 books. But when I began one, I started. In fact, when I wrote that series about the boy and his dog, I wrote 8 books about that boy and the dog. 4 of them, by the way, the first 4 are on Kindle and Nook and Sony and iPad, the whole bit. And by the way, they all have illustrations by the same illustrator. He illustrated all 38 of my covers for all 38 of my stories. But when I was writing the first one, in the middle of the first story, and here I was just learning how to write, I got an idea about the second story. And so I wrote that down, wrote the whole plot down, and I finished the first story, and when I finished the first story, I went into the second story. I already had it all down. I had an outline all ready to go. I started writing, and what happened in the middle of the second story? What do you think happened in the middle of the second story? Yes? What I did was that, yeah, that's good. And I got an idea for the third story. And so I went there and wrote the plot. I got all the ideas. I finished the second story, and then I went right into the third story. I did the middle of the third story. I got an idea for the fourth story. I did that all right until I wrote a story. But then I said, hey, wait a minute. I'm getting tired of this boy and his dog, you know. And so I started writing stories by Indians and the cliff dwellers, and you know, I even have one called the Kingdom of Lipville. It's about the lip people. They're actual lip people like that, you know. And their main enemy were the germ people. Yeah, and it's a fun little story. And their main occupation, and these lip people, they had a whistling contest. They loved to whistle. Because, you know, what do you do if you're a lip? The only thing you can do is whistle. See, maybe you can talk too. So I had them whistling too. And yes.
Oh, I was just going to, when you're finished, if they're making a thinking question in their heads, would they be able to ask you?
Right now.
Okay, I'm going to start, and I want you to listen to my question. I'm saying it in a complete sentence. I'm not repeating a question anyone has. And it's something we're all interested in. Mr. Meyerhofer, when you write your stories, do you just sit down and are they perfect the first time they come out?
Now, let me tell you, kids, that's a very, very fine question, by the way. But now, mostly all those stories that I just mentioned about the boy and the dog and all my other stories, they basically take me about 3 to 5 days to write. 3 to 5 days. But it takes me about 3 months of going to them over and over and over, rewriting them, getting new ideas. So if you say, well, I wrote a story in 3 days, great. But if someone tells you that, say to yourself, well, that's not really true. What it took him maybe 3 months or 6 months. And so, because I kept rewriting, I kept changing the sentences. I found out some of the sentences weren't correct. I found out some of the paragraphs weren't correct. I found out, but the most difficult thing is the defining a word. What I mean by defining a word, kids, is that if I write a certain word, I say to myself, wait a minute, this is not really the right word. I said because you have words that mean the same thing, but many have different feelings for a different type of sentence you're writing. So I couldn't use that word. I had to find something very close to it that actually fit in with the sentence or the character or the mood of that sentence or paragraph. And so that's what takes so long. But when you write, you have to write words very, very, very carefully, especially when writing for children. Everything has to be very close to right. Even in this first book I wrote, there are some things there that if I did it over again, I would change it. But it's never too late. If a major publisher, I have a small publisher, if a big publisher picked it up, I would change one or two things before they publish it again. But yes, that's the whole secret of writing. You do it over and over and over again. Now, if I were you, if you wrote a story, just say you wrote one paragraph, 5, 6 lines, well, and it's a nice little story you wrote. Very simple. Now, who would you take it to have a look at it? Who would you have? Yes.
You.
Well, okay, that's good. But if I'm not around, and I'm not around, right? Huh? Who's closest to you all the time? Yes.
Mom, and Dad.
Your mom, right? Your mom, your dad. But who's the person you're with all day long? It's so important too. More important. Who's the person that's around you every day?
Jesus.
Yes.
Your friends.
I mean, you said who you ask about correcting that. Yes. The teacher. An A for you. An A, Mike.
Is there another question? A thinking question? Oh, there's got to be. You can ask Mr. Meyerhofer anything that's appropriate. Oh my gosh.
Ah, yes.
Do you enjoy reading?
Oh, yes, I do. But you know what the problem is that I find that I'm so busy now, that even though I retired 21 years ago, I have so many things going on. And I mean, many, many things, right? I'm even in a new business with another fellow, actually to be in business with him. And in fact, what it is that it's a rental of musical instruments, new instruments and used instruments for kids joining bands throughout the county or actually throughout the country. And that's the business I'm in right now. I never thought I'd get involved in it, but he asked me, and I said, sure, you have to do it. And then besides my writing, and I practice my harmonica. You all know what harmonica is, right? Huh?
Yes.
I have a chromatic harmonica. A chromatic harmonica has like a little lever at the side there, and so the small harmonica is called a diatonic harmonica. You play like a C scale. But with the chromatic harmonica, get that lever, you go da 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 da, and so you can play all the notes of any song and all the keys. Very difficult to play, but boy, when you start playing it and you start learning it, it's truly satisfying. That little thing, you can carry it in your pocket. You can't carry a piano in your pocket, can you?
No.
Unless you're Superman.
Rose, you have a question.
Yes, your question. Remember what you were going to ask me?
Is it hard to think about what's going to happen in the next story?
Say it really loud, Ro, because my ears didn't quite hear that. They don't work very well. Say it really loud that direction.
Is it hard to think what's going to happen in the next story?
Is it hard to
Think about what's going to happen in the next story to figure out the idea.
You know, funny thing about it, how it happens is that I could be watching a movie, someone, you could say something. People say things to me. And in fact, I was with, oh, by the way, that's Ben Andrews. And Ben Andrews basically is my teacher. He's teaching me how to promote all my books on the internet. He's a master at it. In fact, I think he'll be talking to a group right after he gets done here today. And so I was with Ben one day. He was giving me a lesson, and
Look, you're never too old to learn. I just had to interject that.
Huh?
Never too old to learn.
Right, yeah. And so, and his boss was playing the part of Santa. He had a white beard and stuff like that. And he said something, and boom, it just hit me just like this, and about an idea for a story. It was something he said. So I went home and wrote out a little bit of plot for a Christmas story about Santa, and totally different than anything you've ever heard about Santa, see? And I think this summer I'm going to begin writing it, because I got about 3 projects between now and the summertime to do. I just don't have the time to write, or, by the way, very much time to read. And I love to read. I love to read.
So,
Yes.
Ro, he's using what part of his brain, Ro, when he gets the ideas? What part of his mind? Imagination,
you.
right. Okay, I'm sorry, Sophia.
Yeah.
How did you feel when you first started writing books?
I was surprised. I really was. Because I was always, when I directed, I was a band director, kids, almost for 27 years at Juniper, and I always told kids a lot of stories, and about 99% of them were not true. and so, in fact, one of them, whenever I used to get a haircut, I'd come in, and I had a bad barber, by the way, so you could tell I got a haircut. And so I guess as my conductor standing there, and the girls in the front would play flute, would say to me, "You got a haircut?" I said, "No, I didn't get a haircut." "Well, yes, you did." I said, "No." I said, "What happened?" I said, "Whenever I eat ham and eggs every morning, and I'm afraid to eat them," I said, "because all my hair falls out on the side. Looks like a haircut." "Oh, Mr. Meyerhofer, you're joking, aren't you?" "No, I'm not joking." You know? And so I did that for years. And you know what? A lot of the girls believed me for years when I told them that whenever I ate ham and eggs, my hair would fall out and I didn't have to get a haircut. Oh, that's okay. Yes.
Have any of your stories become movies?
No, in fact, I have a book that I wrote about my big band years, and I traveled. See, I was a traveling musician for 13 years, and I traveled all over the country. And so I wrote about my experiences from the time I was 18 years old, when I decided I wanted to become a musician, till I was 31 years old, when I met my wife, who was a dancer at Harris Club in Lake Tahoe. I married a very, very, very beautiful woman, and we were married for 48 years.